Beckie, thanks for joining us. Growing up in a small town in Alberta in Western Canada, tell us about how you first encountered cross-country skiing.
So I started cross-country skiing with my parents. They were both pretty active outdoor enthusiasts, and they founded the local ski club. They helped build the trails in the park. We actually lived, on the border of a provincial park, so I could ski right out my back door. And I joined the little ski club there as a young kid and really liked it, really enjoyed cross-country skiing. For me, it was social, it was fun, my friends were doing it. It was something to do in the winter in Vermilion, and it just sort of grew from there. I began to do little races around the province and expand my horizons in terms of sport and the competitive experience, and really loved it all the way through.
And looking to your first Winter Olympic Games in '98, you finished towards the back of the pack, and you've spoken about this in the past. You completely advanced a huge amount for the Salt Lake City Games, where you won a medal. Tell us about that transformation.
Yeah, so my first Olympics, I was almost last. Did very poorly there in the results, but came home and regrouped and decided that I did want to keep skiing. I didn't want to give up, and that I had to just find a way to, I guess, find my potential and how that was going to happen. And so it was really a way of charting my own course and taking in advice and expertise from all kinds of sources and people, and building that into the team experience as well, like growing and developing as a team.
And was it at this time, at this period, that you first noticed the doping issue?
Definitely, it was about that time. It was about 2 years in between Nagano and Salt Lake City when I started to become more and more consistently successful internationally, when I started to be knocking at the door of the podium, so to speak. I began to realize, that the field was considerably uneven, and that there was a big problem in our sport, and it was doping.
And what was your initial reaction to that? Was there a sense of injustice? How did you feel at that time?
I mean, my first reaction, when the very first cases started to become known and started to come out, I was really gutted. Like I was really, really just distraught by it, because to me it was such a foreign concept that people would be cheating, not doing things the right way, but also that I had to compete against these people, that they would always have this incredibly unfair advantage. It was a real sense of injustice and true frustration over what was happening in our sport.
You mentioned recently at a values-based education conference in Ottawa, you recited a story that you said your mother had said, with regards to doping, unless you're speaking out against the issue, you're part of the problem. Yeah. Tell us about those sage words from your mother.
Yes, my mom, I had a conversation with her about this time and asked, I was just trying to relay to her the incredible sense of frustration and injustice that I felt having to compete against such a field that I felt was so remarkably imbalanced. And she really brought it home to me and said, if there's a problem and you're not speaking up or trying to be part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. So, that really presented me with, I think, two courses of action. I could go along as I had been doing, very frustrated and just still trying to do my best, or I could actually try to make some change and be part of the solution and try to confront what was happening in our sport.
Looking to the 2002 Salt Lake City Games, how did it feel winning bronze medal when at that stage you didn't know what was to come?
Yeah, I mean, at that moment, stepping onto the podium to win a bronze medal, it was amazing. Like, it was the first medal for a North American. It was an optimistic goal or possibility for us as a team and for me as an individual, but it wasn't certainly a sure thing. So having the race of my life on the day that it mattered against the women that I did, and it all coming down to a sprint finish like it did with a photo finish in the end, was amazing. Like, it was magical. It was pure joy to step onto the podium and hold an Olympic medal around my neck.
And then 2 years later, of course, there was more to come. Yeah. Tell us about the emotions between those periods of time.
Yeah, so then the medal, of course, went from bronze to silver about 8 months later, and then another 10 or 12 months later to gold, and through the whole process was the appeals and the arbitration of the cases of the 2 women that had tested positive in my race. So, obviously I did get a gold medal at the end of the day, but as I said, it wasn't the same, of course, as stepping onto the podium that day and having a gold medal, and any opportunities for endorsement or sponsorship had long passed. So there was no opportunity to, I guess, profit from that at the time. But I really felt, that I gained a lot from that experience, and by the point that I had a gold medal placed around my neck, it wasn't really about me anymore, or even just a ski race. It was really symbolic. It was about the fight for clean sport and fair sport, and how important it is to stand up in the world of anti-doping.
And that personal experience makes you something of a poster child for anti-doping. I mean, how does it feel to carry that label, if you like?
I'm happy to do it because it's something I really believe in. I have always, ever since I was a little kid, believed in clean sport and values-based sport. I think it's such an important element of our society and of culture worldwide. Like, children worldwide grow up believing in sport and all the good things about sport and all the values about sport, and to me it's still worth fighting for.
You've mentioned before that perhaps one of the greatest impediments to the anti-doping cause is a lack of political will. Can you explain what you mean with this?
Well, I think, there was a paper that came out a couple of years ago, and it was researched and developed by members of a team, and it was titled The Ineffectiveness of Doping. And really one of the broadest conclusions it came to was that human vulnerability is part of the problem, and seeing it now from the side that I do, which is the political side, which is the sport, the government, in the various interests that are overlapping when it comes to anti-doping, I often feel very frustrated, because I think we could be so much more effective if everybody was just on one page and operating with a unified vision of let's just make sport clean, and let's not continue to circumvent some of the processes that need to happen in order to do that. Let's just cut to the chase and do what needs to be done.
And looking to what athletes can do, there are perhaps not enough athletes standing up and saying enough is enough. We don't stand doping in sport. Why is that?
I'm not sure why athletes aren't as involved as they could be or should be, but I certainly do believe that athletes really have the power to change and shape the culture of their sport, and they really should, if they feel strongly about it, about anti-doping, about fair sport and values-based sport, that they really are the ones who need to create the momentum in their movement and really work together. It doesn't have to be one individual standing on the sidelines championing clean sport. It can be an entire field of play, saying this is what we stand for and this is what we want our sport to stand for, and therefore we're willing to speak up for it.
And looking to athletes that are doing a lot about anti-doping, of course the WADA Athlete Committee is 10 years old now. Tell us a little bit about some of the progress and the main achievements that have happened during that time.
I think one of the biggest achievements the WADA Athlete Committee can look to in terms of its successes is just being the voice of the athletes at the table, being the ones who stand at the decision-making tables and with the policymakers and say, this is what's important to athletes, this is why it's urgent, this is why you need to take action, and always being sort of an ear to the ground, at the same time a voice to the table, and connecting the two, because they really are very connected, and the WADA Athletes Committee is able to, I think, very effectively liaise between the two groups.
We've seen in the last year or two a shift, if you like, in how we approach anti-doping, away from this war on doping to a protecting the clean athlete mindset. We've seen Thomas Bach talk about it, Sir Craig Reedy. How important is it that we look at it in a positive light?
I think it's very important. I think that it has typically or historically been framed in a negative light, and that's not unjust. It is the dark side of sport. It is the ugly side of competition. There's no question. But I think there is the group, and they are the clean athletes who are directly affected by this. So why not shift it to protection of the clean athlete? For the rights of the clean athlete, because they are, in effect, why we're here.
Looking at one of the main issues for anti-doping today, of course, supplements comes up time and again. How can athletes manage this issue?
I think education is first and foremost. In knowledge is power when it comes to supplements, and knowing what the risks are and what the perceived benefits are. And this is a conversation that has to happen between an athlete and their coach, or their athlete and their doctor, and it has to be a very well-informed and well-educated decision. I think we often see athletes who just hear something or learn something maybe by hearsay and begin to take supplements. And I think as the Athletes Committee, we do understand that mindset. We do understand the need and the drive to find benefit wherever possible, to find that edge, and even if it's psychological sometimes. But it has to be a decision that is very well-informed and very well-educated before it's taken.
And looking to the future, what's next for Beckie Scott?
Well, I think my plan is really to continue to be involved in this capacity, at least for a few more years. I feel like a lot of great work has been done, but there's still a lot of good work to be done as well, and a lot of places that we can have impact and make a difference. So at least a few more years, I think I'll be involved as I continue to believe in it and feel strongly about it, and then maybe it'll be time to pass the torch.
Beckie Scott, thank you very much.
Thank you.